Welcome to Thriving Tribesmen. My name is Kuri, your host, and I'm excited to be making this episode. So yesterday I had a conversation with a client, and it was an incredible conversation. And he said something that was quite interesting. He said the things that have driven you to success, and when I say success, I'm talking about a professional level, are usually the things that then choke your relationship. I thought that was quite interesting because I can relate to that. And we're talking about the environments that you grow up and how they can have a negative impact on you. And when they have a negative impact on you, it gives you these drivers to want to leave that negative situation. And in my case, it was a case of when my mom and dad divorced, it was a very toxic breakup to the point where it was just violent. And so my mom decided she wanted to move. She moved all the way to the other side of the country. And when she did, it was a different tribe. So it was just tribal. They didn't like my tribe. And so I was there, trying to fit in within the school. So I was basically a loner. So I just didn't, because I couldn't speak the language. So when we were on break and so on. So I remember once I was called by the teacher to come and read. And because I got dyslexia, I couldn't read and I was struggling to read. And what then happened was that the teacher then went on to mock me, which then gave license for the children to mock me. And then for the few years after that, all I had was people mocking me and basically said, because you can't read, you're absolutely dumb. So, and when anybody was feeling shit about themselves, they'll be like, well, there's that really dumb guy over there. And it was a horrible situation, which again made me feel like I was not good enough. And then it was, that I was an idiot, I was dumb. And what tended to happen is that I ended up playing sports and then becoming very good at sport. Played rugby, played cricket. And because I was really good at it, people started becoming a little bit less, horrible towards me. And that became the change. And for me, it was reinforcing a thought where within my household, I felt like I wasn't good enough. So I had to be like this really good boy. I had to really be helpful and be good, do everything like be transactional in terms of my affection. So I would have to do these really good things in order to feel like I deserve something. And this was now the thing that, okay, I need to be really, really good at sport in order for people to then like me. And this became the common theme of my life. And because of that early childhood memories, it forced me to be extremely driven. And in terms of just really trying to be the smartest guy in the room and trying to be the strongest guy, trying to be the quickest guy. And it was this chip on the shoulder, to lack of a better term, that I had around by myself, that I didn't feel that I was comfortable being totally myself. So these negative emotions or negative situations became the drivers for me to really pursue professional success. And I can say that in terms of just comparison to my family, I've been the most successful in terms of the amount of earnings that I've been able to earn. But at the same time, those drivers that have caused me to be able to go as far as that has been the things that were choking my relationship, because I never felt good enough, because I never felt like I deserved to be happy. I deserved to have fulfillment. I felt like I needed to work in order to get those, which really had a negative impact on my relationship. And this is what normally happens, is that when you don't feel adequate and don't feel good enough, what tends to happen is that you then get into a transactional relationship where I need to do the X and then you give me Y. And again, this becomes, within a relationship, it's not a good mechanism, or at least a good dynamic for a relationship. Within a relationship, it's all about, I think there's three things that we're talking about, which is that you have to have standards of how you're going to operate within that relationship. Okay, and this is how you're going to deal with me within this relationship, which are the standards. And then you also have to have a set level of the investment. So if you're going to invest lower than this is not good for me, again, which is coupled with just the flip side of the coin of standards. If it's a coin, one side has got standards, one side has got investment. And it's very important. It's all key when it comes to it. And then again, within all of that, it comes the frame around the relationship. So how do I frame myself within that relationship? If your frame is that you're not good enough, then it really operates more on a negative, manipulative track, rather than when you feel like you're good enough, then it becomes more of a positive and self-development type track. So there's a completely different outlook towards it. And it took me years before I actually discovered this and really started moving towards the self-development track. And a part of it was the fact that I'd raised my standards of, okay, I'm good enough, so you're going to treat me with respect. You're going to talk to me with respect. And I'm not going to allow you to lower how you communicate with me. In fact, if you don't prioritize our relationship, then I will call you out for the fact that you're not prioritizing the relationship. Because again, it's not that it's on purpose, but it's like, again, you got to think about it, that your partner is probably experiencing some negative issues that she had within the childhood that are now also choking the relationship. So it's just having this then strategy of how do we navigate that within our relationship to the point where it becomes a place where you're within the track of figuring out, or at least navigating the negative emotions. Now, I'm just going to sidetrack to a side, talking about negative emotions, that those issues that I experience as a negative have always plagued me all my life. And there's certain ways that I coped with them. Part of them would be chasing after girls and wanting to have more sex. Like me being a pickup artist, one of the key drivers was that I just never felt good enough. So I felt maybe if I slept with hundreds and hundreds of women, I would end up feeling like I'm good enough. And that never, and again, so you start pursuing these things that are empty, that have really emptied. So whether it's money, whether it's women, whether it's, again, part of it is that when you end up in a marriage, sometimes you end up within a place where you are dependent on porn, whether you are eating unhealthily, and again, I've been victim to both of them, and where you want to switch off, you are mainly focused on, watching TV series, and again, you try and find things to numb yourself. Some people alcohol, some people drugs, some people, again, there's different ways that people have taken in order to numb themselves, because you've never got to that point where you feel you're good enough, which creates this, whenever you get triggered, you got these negative emotions, and they just never had a process of navigating them. So you either do something that is self-destructive, or you go the route of really trying to convince the other people that you're good enough, which again, both of them are just equally horrible, because again, you can never satisfy, again, until you satisfy yourself, you're never going to satisfy anybody else. When I mean satisfy, I mean if you don't feel like you're enough, you're never going to be enough for anybody, because people, it's just subjective. It's their opinion, and again, it depends on how they're feeling. So there's so many variables when it comes to wanting somebody to validate you than when you validate yourself. So hopefully that makes sense. So very, very important. And I thought when we're talking about this, we did talk about a few strategies around. In fact, we've talked about a few strategies of how to handle this, especially when it comes to, the boundaries and standards and stuff like that. This is one of the important factors, really understanding that within your relationship, you're going to have events that will trigger situations that are from your past. For example, whenever sometimes my wife will take a certain tone and you say a certain thing, and it will take me back to that little boy who was being told that he was dumb, and that will be very triggering. And sometimes when early on in our relationship, I will just have to try and prove that I'm really smart. And this became this real tug of war, which was horrible, and started joking our relationship, as opposed to the thing that you've just said right now doesn't feel really good. Can you just clarify, why you said it, basically? And when she clarifies, you actually realize that sometimes she was actually being helpful. It's just the tone that I picked up on, and not really taking the context of what she was saying. Again, it was one of the key things that sometimes I would find myself trying to do something extremely helpful, and would be extremely triggering for her, and I wouldn't know why. But again, this is one of those things. Again, if you've had negative experiences, you can say something, do something that can be triggering, and that can then influence a negative conversation or negative interaction within a relationship. So again, if you have many of these negative interactions, then as the human brain, what it does is just then says, oh, this relationship is shit, when you actually have positive stuff. So you got this, there's a thing that we talk about, positive associations and negative associations. So if all your interactions are continuously getting into negative associations, all of a sudden you just think, okay, this relationship is not good. But if you notice that sometimes those negative interactions are just a response to some of the things that you've experienced from your past, and as you get better at, again, raising standards and demanding a better level of investment. So if you speak to your wife, if your wife cannot emotionally regulate, call it out on it. Like, when you're at work, you're obviously emotionally regulate, so you can regulate yourself. When you're around people, you experience something negative, you're able to emotionally regulate yourself. When it comes to me, you devolve and you absolutely get lost. And again, I'm not trying to dictate how she should feel. She should feel free to be able to express herself, but not to express herself to the point where it becomes toxic. You still need to retain a level of respect. You still need to retain a level. And this is where the investment side comes of it, that, okay, if you are going to go into a negative state, or if you're already in a negative state, we still have to retain respect. We still have to retain the things that are keeping this relationship good. Just as, same applies to you, that type of thing. So if you get angry, there's no need for you to be disrespectful. There's no need for you to talk out of, speak horribly to your partner, regardless of how you feel. Again, you keeping yourself in check around that creates a new culture within your relationship. And this is one of the things that we ended up talking about yesterday, that the whole sexless relationship thing, this is my last point, is about getting a better relationship. But I think we've just discovered that it's more about building a culture within your relationship, and then the sex frequency becomes a byproduct of that. So if she respects you, if she prioritizes you, therefore the sex becomes a byproduct. But when your kids see that dynamic happening within your relationship, then they treat you with respect. Then again, they learn what a true relationship looks like. Therefore, it sets them up for success within their own relationship. So it's the culture that you're trying to build within that relationship, then that's what's going to give you the best outcomes when it comes to sexual frequency. So really, we covered a lot of stuff. Like I said, it was something that was on my mind that I wanted to share with you guys. And I think this is very important and very key when it comes to changing a sexless relationship, that some of the coping things that you're doing, it responds to the negative side of you being in a sexless relationship and you feeling like you're not good enough, really trying to interact in a different way. Again, part of it is some of the things that I didn't talk about, but I need to talk about, is that those negative experiences would have created a self-dialogue. It's also changing that dialogue within you internally. So when you start feeling those negative emotions, do you talk yourself down? Do you speak horribly about yourself? And all of those things are, again, contributors to why you could remain in a sexless relationship. So again, if you want to learn more about this, go to Instagram and type in Thriving_Tribesmen, and then type in community, DM me the word community, and again, you don't have to follow me or anything like that if you're afraid to be associated to my account, but at least you can DM me and say community, and I can send you the details on how you can join our community. So thank you very much. I'll be seeing you guys soon. Take care.